Early 1991. Kurt Cobain sits alone in his apartment, playing a guitar riff over and over. It's simple. 4 chords. He thinks it sounds cliched, too much like Boston, too much like every other rock song. When he shows it to his bassist Krist Novoselic, Krist calls it ridiculous. But Kurt makes them play it for an hour and a half straight. Slowly, something starts to happen. The riff that seemed ordinary transforms into something explosive. A few weeks later, they walk into Sound City Studios in Los Angeles with a rough demo on cassette. Producer Butch Vig can barely hear it through the distortion, but he knows they have something special. 3 takes. 3 vocal passes. 15 minutes of actual recording time. That's all it took to create the song that would change music forever. Subscribe now, because the story of how "Smells Like Teen Spirit" went from a joke on a wall to the anthem of a generation will blow your mind. I'm Kathleen Hanna, lead singer of Bikini Kill. It's August 1990, and I'm drunk on Canadian club whiskey with my friend Kurt Cobain in Olympia, Washington. We're angry young feminists, and we've just come from spray painting graffiti on a building that pretends to be a pregnancy resource center but is actually trying to shame teenage girls out of having abortions. I wrote, "Fake abortion clinic, everyone," on their walls. Kurt wrote, in 6-foot-high red letters, "God is gay." Mission accomplished. We're feeling rebellious. We keep drinking. Eventually, we end up back at Kurt's apartment. It's a tiny, messy place, the kind of apartment where a struggling musician lives. There's barely any furniture. The walls are covered in punk rock posters and random artwork. I grab a Sharpie marker and start writing more graffiti on Kurt's walls. Why not? We're on a roll. I write all kinds of random stuff. Political slogans. Inside jokes. And then, thinking about Kurt's girlfriend Toby Vale, my bandmate and drummer in Bikini Kill, I write something that seems funny at the time. Kurt smells like Teen Spirit. Teen Spirit is a deodorant brand. Earlier that day, Toby and I saw it at the grocery store and couldn't stop laughing about it. Who names a deodorant Teen Spirit? What does Teen Spirit even smell like? Sweat and hormones. The inside of a locker room? I write the phrase on Kurt's wall and don't think much of it. Just another drunken joke in a night full of them. 6 months later, Kurt calls me. "Hey," he says. "Do you remember that night? There's a thing you wrote on my wall. It's actually quite cool, and I want to use it." I'm confused. What thing? We wrote so much graffiti that night. Kurt smells like Teen Spirit, he reminds me. Can I use that as a song title? I laugh. Yeah, of course. Go ahead. What I don't tell Kurt, what he doesn't know, is that I was literally talking about deodorant. Toby wore Teen Spirit deodorant. The phrase was a joke about how Kurt probably smelled like his girlfriend. But Kurt has interpreted it completely differently. He thinks it's some kind of revolutionary statement. A punk rock anthem about the spirit of teenagers. An anti-establishment battle cry. He has no idea it's a deodorant brand. And I don't have the heart to tell him. So I give him my blessing to use the title, not realizing that this stupid joke, this throwaway line written drunk on a wall, is about to become one of the most famous song titles in rock history. Meanwhile, Kurt is under pressure. Nirvana's first album, Bleach, came out in 1989 on the independent label Sub Pop. It was raw, heavy, sludgy, the sound of pure grunge. But Kurt wants more. He wants melody. He wants songs that stick in people's heads. He's a punk rocker, but he's also obsessed with the Beatles. He loves pop music. He wants to write songs that are both aggressive and catchy. More importantly, Nirvana has just signed with DGC Records, a major label. This is a huge deal for a Seattle grunge band, but it also means expectations are high. The label wants a hit. They want mainstream success. Kurt feels torn. On one hand, he wants his music to reach more people. On the other hand, he's terrified of selling out, of betraying his punk rock roots. This internal conflict is eating him alive. How do you write the ultimate pop song without compromising your artistic integrity? How do you make something commercially successful that still feels authentic? Kurt has been thinking about this problem for months. Studying it. Trying to figure out the formula. He's particularly obsessed with the Pixies, a band from Boston that perfected the quiet loud dynamic. Soft verses that explode into screaming choruses. That's the sound Kurt wants to capture. I was trying to write the ultimate pop song, Kurt will later admit. I was basically trying to rip off the Pixies. Early in 1991, a few weeks before Nirvana is scheduled to record their second album, Nevermind, Kurt sits alone in his apartment and starts playing around with a guitar riff. It's simple. Almost embarrassingly simple. 4 power chords, F, B-flat, A-flat, D-flat. The kind of riff you could teach a beginner in 5 minutes. Kurt hates it. It sounds too much like Boston's, more than a feeling. It sounds cliched. But he keeps playing it. Over and over. There's something about it, something infectious. It gets stuck in his head. Maybe he thinks this stupid, simple riff could be the foundation for something bigger. I'm Krist Novoselic, bassist for Nirvana. Kurt and I have been playing music together since we were teenagers in Aberdeen, Washington. It's early 1991, and we're rehearsing in our practice space in Seattle. Kurt has a new song he wants to show us. He starts playing this guitar riff. Just the riff. No verse, no lyrics, just 4 chords repeating. I listen for a minute. Then I tell him what I'm thinking. This sounds ridiculous. I don't mean it in a good way. The riff is too simple. Too pop. Too much like something a mainstream rock band would play. We're Nirvana. We're supposed to be raw, underground, authentic. This riff sounds like it belongs on commercial radio. Kurt doesn't argue with me. Instead, he does something that drives me crazy. He makes us play the riff over and over and over. For an hour and a half, we just play that same 4-chord progression. Again and again. No breaks. No discussion. Dave Grohl, our new drummer, joined the band in 1990. He's a powerhouse, the best drummer we've ever had. But even Dave is starting to look confused. Why are we playing this same riff for 90 minutes straight? But then something starts to happen. After playing it so many times, I begin to hear possibilities. The riff itself is simple, but what if we change the dynamics? What if we slow it down and make the verses quiet? Wait a minute, I say, interrupting Kurt. Why don't we just kind of slow this down a bit? I start playing a slower, more subdued bass line under the same chord progression. Creating space. Creating tension. Dave immediately understands what I'm doing. He starts playing a drum beat, soft at first, just keeping time. Building anticipation. Suddenly, the song has 2 parts, the quiet verse we're creating now, and the explosive chorus with that original riff. Kurt's eyes light up. This is what he's been waiting for. This is the Pixies formula, soft and quiet, then loud and hard. We keep working. Kurt already has a vocal melody for the chorus, that hello, 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 how low part that's been stuck in his head. But the verses need work. Over the next few weeks, we refine the song during sound checks. We play it before shows, testing it, shaping it. The structure becomes clear. Intro with the main riff, quiet verse, explosive chorus, repeat. But Kurt still doesn't have lyrics. He has the title, Smells Like Teen Spirit, from Kathleen Hanna's Graffiti. But what does the song actually say? Kurt doesn't worry about it. He rarely writes lyrics until the last possible moment. In April 1991, we play our first public performance of Smells Like Teen Spirit at the OK Hotel in Seattle. The song is still rough, the arrangement isn't quite right, some of the fills are different, but the audience reaction is electric. They've never heard anything like it before. Neither have we, honestly. A few weeks later, we're scheduled to record Nevermind with producer Butch Vig at Sound City Studios in Los Angeles. The recording sessions are supposed to start in March, but they keep getting pushed back. We're nervous. This is our first album on a major label. The expectations are enormous. DGC Records has given us a budget of $65,000, a fortune compared to what we spent on Bleach. The label initially wanted us to work with big-name producers like Scott Litt or David Briggs, people with proven track records. But we pushed back. We wanted Butch Vig. We'd worked with Butch before at Smart Studios in Madison, Wisconsin. He understood us. He got our sound. We felt comfortable with him. More importantly, Butch wasn't going to try to turn us into something we're not. He would help us capture our sound, not change it. Before the sessions, we record rough demos of the new songs on a boombox and send the cassette to Butch in Los Angeles. The recording quality is terrible. We're playing at full volume in a small room, so the sound is completely distorted. You can barely make out the individual instruments through all the noise and clipping. But on that cassette, among all the other songs, is Smells Like Teen Spirit. Butch receives the tape and pops it into his cassette player. He expects to hear rough demos, sketches of songs that need work. What he hears instead is almost unintelligible. The distortion is so heavy that the music sounds like a wall of fuzz. It was so fucking distorted, I could barely hear anything, Butch will later recall. But underneath all that noise, he can make out something. A guitar riff. The word, hello, repeated over and over. A melody. A structure. And even though the recording is terrible, even though he can barely hear the actual song, Butch gets excited. Underneath the fuzz, I could hear the melodies and chord structures, he remembers. And even though the recording was terrible, I was super excited. He calls us immediately. That new song, he says. Teen Spirit. That's going to be special. We're less convinced. We think other songs on the album are stronger. Kurt wants In Bloom to be the lead single. Some people at the label think Come As You Are will be the big hit. Nobody, not us, not Butch, not the label, has any idea that Smells Like Teen Spirit is about to change music history. I'm Butch Vig, producer. It's May 1991, and Nirvana has finally arrived at Sound City Studios in Van Nuys, California. Sound City is legendary. The studio has a massive live room and a vintage Neve 8028 mixing console that gives recordings a warm, powerful sound. Everyone from Fleetwood Mac to Tom Petty has recorded here. But Nirvana arrives late. The sessions were supposed to start in March, then April. The band kept pushing the date back. They're nervous about recording for a major label. To earn gas money to drive down to Los Angeles, they played a show in Seattle where they performed Smells Like Teen Spirit live for the first time publicly. Now they're here, ready to record it properly. Kurt Cobain walks into the studio looking tired. He's thin, wearing his usual thrift store clothes. But when he picks up his guitar, a 1969 Lake Placid blue Fender Mustang, something changes. He's focused. Ready. The first thing I notice is that Kurt didn't bring much equipment. He's using a Mesa/Boogie amp and some effects pedals, nothing fancy. This is going to be a raw recording, which is exactly what we want. We set up the instruments in the live room. Dave Grohl's drum kit is positioned to capture the natural ambience of the space. I use multiple microphones, close mics for detail, room mics for atmosphere. For Kurt's guitar, I set up both close mics and room mics to capture the full spectrum of his sound. He's running his guitar through his amp and effects, creating that distinctive distorted tone. Okay, I say through the talkback. Let's run through Teen Spirit. They launch into the song. The energy is immediate. Dave's drumming is thunderous. He hits harder than almost any drummer I've worked with. Christ's bassline provides the foundation. And Kurt's guitar cuts through everything with that iconic riff. But something isn't quite right. After the first take, I suggest some changes to the arrangement. The song has a guitar ad-lib at the end that I think would work better after each chorus. I also suggest shortening the chorus from 8 measures to 6. Kurt considers this. He's not always open to suggestions. He has strong ideas about his music, but he trusts me. We've worked together before. Let's try it, he says. We record a second take with the new arrangement. It's better. Much better. The song flows more naturally. The dynamics are perfect. Soft verses building to explosive choruses. We do a third take just to be safe. When we're done, I listen back to all 3 takes. The second one is the keeper. It's tight, powerful, exactly what we need. The whole basic track, drums, bass, and rhythm guitar, took 3 takes. Maybe 45 minutes of actual recording time. Now comes the hard part, Kurt's vocals. I set up speakers in the live room instead of headphones because Kurt hates wearing headphones. The speakers are positioned out of phase so he can hear the music without it bleeding into his vocal microphone. Kurt stands at the mic, listening to the playback. He's holding a piece of paper with lyrics scribbled on it. Ready. I ask. He nods. I hit record, and Kurt starts singing. His voice in the verses is almost conversational, detached, apathetic. Load up on guns, bring your friends. There's a laziness to it, a deliberate lack of emotion that somehow makes it more powerful. Then the chorus hits, and Kurt transforms. His voice goes from detached to desperate. Hello, 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 how low? He's not singing anymore, he's wailing. The first take is good. But I want more. Let's do another one, I say. Kurt does a second take, then a third. Each time, he pushes his voice harder. By the final chorus of the third take, his vocal cords are starting to shred. You can hear it, the strain, the rawness. If you listen to the chorus, it's starting to get pretty shot, I'll later explain. He's been going so hard, pushing so hard. Sounds like his vocal cords are starting to come right out of his throat, especially when he gets to a denial. It's pretty powerful sounding. That's the take I want. The one where Kurt sounds like he's destroying himself. After 3 vocal takes, we're done with the lead vocal. Kurt wants to double-track the chorus to make it sound thicker, more powerful. At first, he resists. That's cheating, he says. He's a punk rocker. Punk rockers don't use studio tricks. But I convince him by mentioning John Lennon. The Beatles did it all the time, I tell him. It's not cheating. It's making the song sound as good as it can be. Kurt agrees to try it. He's a massive Beatles fan. He can't argue with the Lennon comparison. He records multiple vocal takes for the chorus, and they lock up perfectly. When I layer them together, the chorus suddenly sounds huge. Powerful. Undeniable. The guitar solo comes next. Instead of doing something complex or showing off, we decide to copy the vocal melody exactly. It's simple, but it works perfectly. At the end of the solo, Kurt lets his guitar feedback. The overtones are beautiful, this chaotic noise that somehow fits the song. We actually pulled it back in the final mix, I'll later say with some regret. But it would have been great to leave it in. For the final touch, I have Kurt layer multiple guitar tracks. He records the main riff multiple times, and I stack them together to create a massive wall of sound. Everything comes together in about 15 minutes of actual recording time. 3 instrumental takes. 3 vocal takes. Some overdubs and double tracking. That's it. That's all it took to create Smells Like Teen Spirit. When we're finished, I play the rough mix for the band. We sit in the control room, listening to what we've just created. Kurt looks uncertain. He still thinks the riff is too cliched. He's worried people will say we're ripping off Boston or the Pixies. Chris is more enthusiastic, but even he's not sure this is the strongest song on the album. Dave just shrugs. Years later, he'll say, just seeing Kurt write the lyrics to a song 5 minutes before he first sings them, you just kind of find it a little bit hard to believe that the song has a lot to say about something. None of us realize what we've just created. None of us understand that this song, recorded in less than an hour, with lyrics written at the last minute, is about to change everything. It's August 17th, 1991. 3 months after recording Smells Like Teen Spirit, Nirvana is back in Los Angeles to film a music video. The director is Samuel Bayer, a first-time music video director. MTV chose him partly because his rough, inexperienced style matches Nirvana's aesthetic. They don't want something polished and professional. They want something raw. Bayer's concept is simple, a high school pep rally that descends into chaos. We're shooting at GMT Studios in Culver City on Stage 6, which has been transformed into a high school gymnasium. The set design is deliberately dark and surreal, not what you'd expect from a typical pep rally. The band takes the stage. Behind them are bleachers filled with extras, young people who responded to a casting call asking for 18 to 25-year-olds willing to adopt a high school persona, preppy, punk, nerd, jock. The extras aren't professional actors. They're actual Nirvana fans, alternative kids, people from the local scene. There are also cheerleaders, but they're not your typical cheerleaders. They're wearing black dresses with the Circle A anarchist symbol. It's a subversion of the traditional pep rally image, celebrating rebellion instead of school spirit. And there's a janitor, played by Tony Della Rosa, wearing a navy blue jumpsuit, dancing with a push broom. He represents the working-class kid who doesn't fit into the high school hierarchy. The shoot is supposed to be straightforward. Film Nirvana performing the song multiple times from different angles, cut it all together. But there's a problem. The extras have been sitting in those bleachers for hours, forced to stay seated and quiet through countless replays of the song. They're tired, frustrated, bored. Director Samuel Bayer wants them to stay still and controlled. But the energy in the room is building. These kids didn't come here to sit quietly. They came to see Nirvana. Kurt sees what's happening. He sees the disconnect between the controlled, manufactured environment Bayer wants and the chaotic energy that Nirvana actually represents. During a break, Kurt approaches Bayer. "Let them mosh," Kurt says. Bayer is hesitant. If the extras start moving around, it'll be harder to get clean shots. The video will look messy, uncontrolled. "That's the point," Kurt says. "That's what we are." Bayer agrees, and everything changes. For the final shots of the video, Kurt tells the extras they can do whatever they want. Dance, jump, destroy things, go crazy. Once the kids came out dancing, they just said, "Fuck you," because they were so tired of his shit throughout the day, Kurt will later say. The result is beautiful chaos. The bleachers become a mosh pit. People are stage diving, crowd surfing, destroying the set. The pep rally transforms into a punk rock show. By the end, the students are tearing down the equipment, smashing the band's gear. The discontent is real. The energy is real. And that's what makes the video work. When the video is finished, MTV receives it with some uncertainty. It's not like other videos they're playing. It's darker, more aggressive, more chaotic. They decide to premiere it on 120 Minutes, MTV's late-night alternative music show that airs after midnight. It's a safe bet. If the video flops, at least it won't be during prime time. But something unexpected happens. The phones at MTV start ringing. Viewers want to see the video again. And again. Within days, Smells Like Teen Spirit moves from 120 Minutes to daytime rotation. MTV starts playing it every few hours. Then every hour. The response is overwhelming. Kids who've never heard of Nirvana suddenly can't stop talking about this band from Seattle. Amy Finnerty, who worked in MTV's programming department, will later say, "The video changed the entire look of MTV. It gave us a whole new generation to sell to." The video doesn't just promote the song, it becomes a cultural moment. Those images of Kurt with his blonde hair and striped shirt, the anarchist cheerleaders, the chaotic pep rally, they define the early 1990s aesthetic. Fashion magazines start featuring grunge style. Thrift stores sell out of flannel shirts and ripped jeans. Everyone wants to dress like they don't care about fashion, which ironically becomes a fashion statement. Meanwhile, Smells Like Teen Spirit starts climbing the charts. It enters the Billboard Hot 100 at number 28. Then it keeps rising. Number 20. Number 15. Number 10. DGC Records is shocked. They expected Nevermind to sell maybe 250,000 copies total, about the same as Sonic Youth's album Goo had sold. Instead, by late 1991, Nevermind is selling 300,000 copies per week. Record stores can't keep it in stock. DGC puts production of all other albums on hold just to meet the demand. Geffen Records president Ed Rosenblatt tells the New York Times, "We didn't do anything. It was just one of those get out of the way and duck records. Nobody planned this. Nobody expected this." A song that Kurt thought sounded too cliched, that Chris originally dismissed as ridiculous, that took 15 minutes to record, is becoming the biggest rock song in America. And the weird part, Nirvana isn't even sure they like it anymore. January 11th, 1992. Nevermind reaches number 1 on the Billboard 200. It dethrones Michael Jackson's Dangerous, one of the most anticipated albums of the year by the biggest pop star on the planet. A Seattle grunge band just knocked off the king of pop. Nobody saw this coming. Not the label. Not the band. Not even Kurt Cobain, who wrote the song that made it happen. Smells Like Teen Spirit peaks at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, an extraordinary achievement for an alternative rock song. On MTV, the video becomes the most played clip in the channel's history in Europe. The song isn't just a hit. It's a cultural earthquake. Within months, the entire landscape of rock music changes. Hair metal, the dominant force in rock throughout the 1980s, collapses almost overnight. Bands like Motley Crue, Poison, and Warrant, groups that defined rock radio just a year earlier, suddenly can't get airplay. Their big hair, spandex, and glossy production sound dated. Ridiculous. Over. Radio stations across America flipped their formats. Out with hair metal. In with grunge and alternative rock. Record labels scrambled to sign bands from Seattle. Anyone who sounds remotely like Nirvana gets a contract. The Seattle sound becomes the hottest commodity in music. Suddenly, being from Seattle is cool. Wearing flannel is cool. Not caring about your appearance is cool. Alienation and apathy become marketable. Rolling Stone writes that Smells Like Teen Spirit wiped the lingering jive of the 80s off the pop map overnight. But for Kurt Cobain, this success is a nightmare. He wrote Smells Like Teen Spirit as a punk rock song with pop sensibilities. He wanted it to be accessible without being commercial, authentic without being underground. Instead, it became the most commercial rock song in America. The very thing he was trying to avoid. Frat boys at college parties are singing along. Jocks are wearing Nirvana t-shirts. The mainstream audience, the people Kurt always felt alienated from, have adopted his song as their anthem. It's almost an embarrassment to play it, Kurt says in a 1994 interview. Everyone has focused on that song so much. The reason it gets a big reaction is people have seen it on MTV a million times. It's been pounded into their brains. He continues, but I think there are so many other songs that I've written that are as good, if not better. But I can barely, especially on a bad night, get through Teen Spirit. I literally want to throw my guitar down and walk away. I can't pretend to have a good time playing it. Nirvana starts leaving the song out of their set lists. When they do play it, Kurt deliberately changes the lyrics, sings it in a different key, or performs it so badly that it's barely recognizable. During a famous appearance on BBC's Top of the Pops in 1991, the band is told they have to lip-sync to the pre-recorded track. Kurt refuses to sing it properly. He sings the entire song an octave lower and changes the lyrics. Load up on guns, bring your friends, becomes load up on drugs, kill your friends. He's trying to sound like Morrissey from the Smiths, anything to make it different from the studio version everyone knows. The irony is devastating. Kurt wanted to write the ultimate pop song, and he succeeded. But that success destroyed his relationship with the song. He created something so powerful, so culturally significant, that it no longer belongs to him. It belongs to MTV, to radio, to millions of fans who don't understand what he was trying to say. The lyrics, which Kurt wrote in about 5 minutes, get analyzed endlessly. Music critics write dissertations about what "Here We Are Now, Entertain Us" means. Is it about media consumption? Youth apathy? The relationship between performers and audiences? Kurt finds this hilarious and frustrating. The entire song is made up of contradictory ideas, he explains. It's just making fun of the thought of having a revolution. But it's a nice thought. Dave Grohl is more blunt. Just seeing Kurt write the lyrics to a song 5 minutes before he first sings them, you just kind of find it a little bit hard to believe that the song has a lot to say about something. You need syllables to fill up this space, or you need something that rhymes. But the world doesn't care about Kurt's intentions. They've decided what "Smells Like Teen Spirit" means. It's the voice of Generation X. The anthem of disaffected youth. The song that changed everything. Awards start pouring in. At the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards, Nirvana wins Best New Artist and Best Alternative Group for the "Smells Like Teen Spirit" video. The album, Nevermind, eventually sells over 10 million copies in the United States alone. Over 30 million worldwide. All because of a song that took 15 minutes to record. A song with a title that came from drunken graffiti about deodorant. A song that the bassist initially called Ridiculous. More than 30 years after Smells Like Teen Spirit was released, it remains one of the most recognizable songs in rock history. In 2000, the Guinness World Records named it the most played video on MTV Europe. In 2004, Rolling Stone ranked it number 9 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. In 2021, it surpassed 1 billion streams on Spotify. The song has been covered by hundreds of artists in every genre imaginable, from Tori Amos's haunting piano version to Patti Smith's punk interpretation to Miley Cyrus's stadium rock rendition. Weird Al Yankovic made a parody called "Smells Like Nirvana" that Kurt actually loved. "I was honored," Kurt said. "When Weird Al wants to parody you, you know you've made it." But the true legacy of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" isn't in its chart positions or awards. It's in what it represents. The song proved that raw, authentic music could compete with, and beat, polished mainstream pop. It proved that a three-piece band from Seattle could change the entire direction of popular culture. It gave a voice to millions of young people who felt alienated, frustrated, and misunderstood. When Kurt sang, "Here We Are Now, Entertain Us / I Feel Stupid and Contagious," an entire generation felt seen. Butch Vig, the producer who helped shape the song's sound, reflects on its impact. "It was a zeitgeist moment, you know? It turned people's heads. Those records don't come along very often." Dave Grohl, who's gone on to massive success with Foo Fighters, still marvels at what happened. "I have my theories on why so many people connected to it and why Nirvana became a popular band, but mine is just a little more distorted than an actual music critic's." For me, Kathleen Hanna, the person who drunkenly wrote "Kurt smells like teen spirit" on a wall, the whole thing is surreal. A joke about deodorant became the title of one of the most important songs in rock history. Kurt never knew it was about deodorant. He died thinking it was some kind of revolutionary statement. Maybe, in a way, it was. Not because of what I meant when I wrote it, but because of what Kurt made it mean. That's the power of great art. It transforms ordinary things, a simple guitar riff, a drunken joke, 15 minutes in a recording studio, into something timeless. "Smells Like Teen Spirit" taught an important lesson to every musician who came after. You don't need expensive production. You don't need complicated arrangements. You don't need to fit into what the music industry thinks will sell. You just need honesty, authenticity, the courage to be yourself and make the music you believe in. Kurt Cobain wanted to write the ultimate pop song. A song that was both accessible and authentic. A song that honored his punk rock roots while embracing his love of melody. And he succeeded beyond his wildest dreams, even if that success ultimately complicated his relationship with the song. Today, "Smells Like Teen Spirit" is more than just a song. It's a cultural touchstone. A dividing line in music history. The moment when everything changed. Before Teen Spirit, rock music was dominated by hair metal and slick production. After Teen Spirit, authenticity mattered more than perfection. Alternative became mainstream. Grunge conquered the world. And it all started with 4 simple chords that Kurt thought sounded cliched. With a bassist who called it ridiculous. With 3 takes in a studio. With 15 minutes of recording time. That's the magic of music. Sometimes the songs that change the world are the ones nobody expected to matter. Sometimes greatness comes from simplicity. Sometimes a joke on a wall becomes a revolution. Subscribe to honor the legacy of artists who changed music by staying true to themselves. Like this video if "Smells Like Teen Spirit" changed your life. Turn on notifications to never miss stories about the songs that defined generations. Because 33 years later, we're still trying to understand how a song recorded in 15 minutes changed music forever. And maybe that's exactly how it should be. The best art doesn't need explanation. It just needs to be heard.